शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्तांश। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी ज्ञाने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So we have just embarked on the Bhakti Shastri course. And last time, would anyone want to just recollect one online, one offline, which क्या क्या discuss किया था? So first start with those who are in front. Would anyone like to give a review? Yes.
Read what Vedas mean, we studied what the four defects in humans are, and the importance of human life.
Yes. So as far as Ishopanishad is concerned, these were the 4 points that we discussed. And otherwise, we began with the discussion on that how that this connection to the Shastras, the scriptures, it helps us understand Krishna's will, Krishna's direction in our life. And let's continuing from where we left off, we will just
प्रभु जी जस्ट आपका जो माइक है हेडफोन वाला थोड़ा मुंह के पास लेके आएंगे तो क्लियर आएगा।
हरे कृष्णा। अभी बेटर है?
हाँ भी थोड़ा बेटर है।
Okay. So you all have to use earphones. Those who are listening online, then you will be able to listen better. We were taking the discussion on the 4 defects, and there was an enigmatic picture. भी आ रहा था ना? हाँ Okay. So talking about Veda means knowledge, and we depend on our perception, on the pratyaksha, what is visible to our senses, what is perceptible to our senses to attain knowledge. However, the scriptures present to us that there are certain defects, there are certain lacunae, shortcoming in this method of sensual perception. There are defects. But I don't know why suddenly आके जा रहा हो. Sound system बुला के लाएंगे मेरे को. Function FT. Sahat Nishaya Dhairya. Srila Rupa Goswami is saying that we have to, on the path of bhakti, have utsaha, enthusiasm, निश्चय, determination and patience. So, थोड़ा सा patience हमारा टेस्ट हो रहा है इधर.
स्मार्ट टीवी है या नॉर्मल?
हाँ,
ये स्मार्ट टीवी है.
स्मार्ट टीवी होना चाहिए. Okay. ठीक है. So this is where we were, and I'll just yes. So this is where we were trying to understand that agar if we have too much of faith on our own sensual perception, then we will not be open. We will not have a sufficient appetite to approach the scriptures. So that's why it's very important to first understand the fallibility of our senses or our intelligence and mind and senses to be able to acquire knowledge of a higher realm. We discussed that what we know is a very limited subset of the entire universe of knowledge. And within what we know, but beyond what we know is what we don't know. But actually, what we know that we don't know. जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया कि देर आर वो आ रहे जा रहे हैं बार बार. भी आप रहेंगे तब तक स्टेबल रहेंगे. आप बता दो इनको क्या करना. So there's what we know that we don't know. There are certain subjects that we know that okay ये subject बारे में मुझे पता नहीं है ज़्यादा डिटेल में. For example, for someone it may be something in science, someone it may be something in law, or something a CA may not know about human body, a doctor may not know about finances and accounts. So the CA consults a doctor consults a CA. जब इसका ब्लड टेस्ट का रिपोर्ट निकलता है तो सीए किसके पास जाता है? डॉक्टर के पास. जब डॉक्टर का at the end of the financial year report निकलता है, तो वो किसके पास आता है? CA के पास, because he knows that I don't know this. These numbers, I don't know how to, file my returns, how to get, returns. So he will take those numbers and go to the CA because he knows that I don't know this. The CA knows कि मेरा CBC, ESR या फलाना जो टेस्ट है इसका values का how do I make sense? I don't know. So you go to the doctor, right? But there's beyond these things that we know we don't know. There are many things that we actually don't even know that exist. Especially knowledge of the spiritual world. Between birth and death, the exposure that we have is the only set of knowledge that we can claim to know amongst ourselves as a human society. बर्थ और डेथ के बीच में क्या है वही हम जान सकते हैं. बर्थ के पहले क्या था, डेथ के बाद क्या होगा, that knowledge we don't even know. And if you don't come in touch with the shastras, if you don't come in touch with the scriptures, we won't even know that it exists. Because that kind of a knowledge requires you to go beyond birth and death. Then only you can know that knowledge. So therefore, the Vedas, they definitely give us knowledge about things that in this world, the apara vidya, the knowledge of this world also Vedas give a quite of fascinating account of the subject matters of this world. There are many sciences. For example, even till date, it's a mystery that how Vedas have such detailed knowledge about. For example, Srimad Bhagavatam talks about embryology. The development of the embryo right from the first day to the third day to the first week to the first month, third month, fifth month, without having any sonography machines, thousands of years back. How is it that the Bhagavatam gives us a complete picture of the development of the embryo? So definitely, as far as biology is concerned, Bhagavatam, the scriptures, the Vedas do have very cutting edge knowledge. Similarly about Ayurveda. So many of the Western companies, they are picking up on the different herbal concoctions that we have, and then they are making patents out of it. Which is now, if you go back in time, how is it that without that they exactly knew कि ये 25 हर्ब्स को मिला के इतने प्रोपोर्शन में आप मिलाओगे ये 25 हर्ब्स को, तो आपको जाके यू विल गेट अ क्योर फॉर डायबिटीज, यू विल गेट अ क्योर फॉर हृदय रोग, some sort of a heart disease. So like how much time would it take to experiment? Even till date, modern science is just giving stopgap solutions. Medical science is giving just, it's about dealing with diseases. But Ayurveda, the word Ayu suggests longevity. So Ayurveda is that branch of science of Vedas which talks about longevity. The perspective, the paradigm of Ayurveda is how to give the person good health. The focus is health and longevity. In medical science, the focus is disease. ये डिजीज है तो क्या करना, वो डिजीज है तो क्या करना. लेकिन आयुर्वेदा में mindset is how to make this person healthy, right? There are so many different types of you know medicines and which are prescribed, and even beyond medicine, the general lifestyle, and that is also mentioned. So whether we speak of medical science or even with metallurgy, you have all heard of the pillar at Qutub Minar, which was actually brought from somewhere else from a temple and placed there. So actually this is one of the several pillars which do not rust. We have all heard of that pillar, right? शायद सेल्फी भी कुछ खींचा होगा उधर. So in Madhya Pradesh in Dhar, there's a temple which has 12 such pillars, and each pillar is 200 to 300 kgs, and which is 1000 years old. So 1000-year old, we were having industrial scale production of iron, not just ordinary iron, which was actually so kind of an alloy, made into an alloy of iron, which doesn't, you know, corrode even after 1000 years. So what kind of technology these people had coming from the Vedas, right? Or building of big temples, and you have a Gopuram in Brihadishwar temple. At the top, the dome of the temple, there's a single stone of 200 of how many tons? 50 tons, 50 to 60 tons, something like that. So still, till now, it's a mystery. How did, because to get that stone reach there, you would need a ramp of 6 kilometers. And that too should be perfectly smooth. मुंबई के रोड्स के ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. Otherwise, elephants have to take it. But even an elephant, even if you employ elephants, one elephant can at max carry, I think, 5 to 6 tons. So how do you make 10 elephants do the work together in synchrony to take that across 6 kilometers? So basically, still till now, it's mystery. And then our Shilpa Shastra, they talk about sciences to actually make stones as light as paper, so that stones can float. Now, these, even when we talk of knowledge of this world, the scriptures have such advanced understanding. So we speak of metallurgy, we speak of biology, medical science, we speak of say architecture, and you speak of language. Hmm. We are discussing all of this to strengthen our faith in the scriptures. That these Vedas must have something really unique and powerful, which like the source of knowledge which we don't have access to. तभी तो हम पढ़ेंगे ना. That's when we will spend time to read it. So when you talk of language, so far till now, it is scientifically proven that the most advanced and the most perfectly crafted language in the world is Sanskrit. So suppose today we all get an assignment कि हमें एक नई language discover करनी है, invent करनी है. So together, all of us sitting in this room have been given an assignment कि let's today make a new language. हमारी language, मतलब केवल हम लोग बात करेंगे, बाहर किसी को पता नहीं है. Are you all signing up for this? अरे, yes or no? Huh? Should we do it? Okay. So if we have to make a very scientifically designed language, तो सबसे पहले आप क्या सोचोगे? Alphabets, syllables. Yes. तो alphabets, syllables. तो alphabets और syllables कहाँ से आप प्रोड्यूस करोगे?
जो पहले से है,
हाँ, जो पहले से है. ओके. Yes. Sound. Okay, so language comes from sentences. Sentences come from words. Words come from alphabets or syllables. Syllables come from sound. अभी sound वो कहाँ से आता है?
Krishna, it's
हाँ,
Krishna's energy.
मुंह
Krishna's
से आता
energy.
है, सबको पता है.
Krishna's energy. No?
Hare Krishna.
Sound is Krishna's energy, right?
Yeah, sound is Krishna's energy, but that energy has been gifted in our sound box, vocal cords, right? So हम लोग आज together we are going to invent a new language, okay? And we have come to this reverse engineering process कि आपको language, sentences, words, alphabets, सिलेबल साउंड, साउंड मतलब साउंड बॉक्स। तो ये साउंड बॉक्स से क्या क्या ध्वनि निकलता है, वहां से स्टार्ट करें अपन। ओके, सो नाउ व्हेन यू टॉक ऑफ प्रोड्यूसिंग साउंड, it has two components. One is mechanical, another is pneumatic. Pneumatic मतलब कोई समझता है? कोई है इंजीनियर? Pneumatic means air.
Yeah.
जो air, the force of air is called pneumatic energy. तो जब भी हम कुछ बोलते हैं, we force air out of our lungs. तभी तो कुछ आपको सांस रोक के मैं रहने कहूंगा, can you speak something? When we speak, essentially you force air out of your lungs. Now, when you force air out of your lung, you can actually then speak. बाहर निकलना चाहिए ना, लंग से हवा बाहर निकला, ठीक है, कहाँ से बाहर निकलेगा? मुंह से. So the air can come out just from the mouth, from the nose also, right? So the air can come out from the mouth or the nose, ठीक है. तो ये हो गया air का. Now when you speak, it is not that just you just blow out the air. नहीं तो हमारे the only language that you would have is नहीं. We have a mechanical component that how we move our lips and mouth, and how the lips and the mouth touches, where it touches, based on that a different syllable, different sound is produced. ठीक है, agreed? We are in, हमें नोबेल प्राइज मिल सकता है, हम इन्वेंट करने जा रहे हैं, पूरा साइंटिफिक चल रहा है मेथड, है ना, नो शॉर्टकट. So now where can you touch? When you start, the first sound actually can be produced when when you're when at the base of the throat it touches. ये मतलब बीच तीन जगह हैं जहां से आप टच कर सकते हैं. बेस ऑफ द थ्रोट, लाइक द थ्रोट स्क्वीजेस, वहां से साउंड आ सकता है, या फिर आपका टंग पैलेट को टच करता है, वहां से साउंड आ सकता है, या फिर आपके लिप्स टच करते हैं, वहां पे साउंड आ सकता है. ओके, तो व्हेन यू से तो क्या हो रहा है? विच पार्ट? द बेस, द बेस ऑफ द थ्रोट इज गेटिंग स्क्वीज्ड. तो जो आवाज, जो हवा बाहर आप फेंक रहे हैं वहां पे स्क्वीज हो रहा है, तो उससे क्या आवाज निकल रहा है? ठीक है, तो हमारी नई लैंग्वेज का पहला लेटर एक आ गया अ. ठीक है, अच्छा, नाउ इफ आई यूज माई लिप्स, तो लिप्स को अगर मैं बंद करता हूं तो क्या? म, म, ठीक है, सो एट द बेस अ आया, यहाँ पे म आया. ठीक है, इफ आई टच एट द मिडल, so in the middle if the sound comes, ooh, like just I'm just opening little bit of my lips and middle of the palate, ooh, and producing it ooh and ma. What is ooh and ma? Om. So that's how our language का नई invented language है ये. इसमें हमने तीन लेटर्स निकाले, अल्फाबेट्स निकाले हैं, अ, उ एंड म. Congratulations. Om. That's how when you say Om, it actually represents the beginning, middle, and end of the creation. It represents the creator, maintainer, and destroyer, the Supreme Lord. So now this is just about Om, but now when we talk of the whole chart of the Devanagari script, जिसे हम कॉपी करके अभी अब बोल रहे हैं, एंटायर देवनागरी स्क्रिप्ट, इसमें क्या है? क ख ग घ ड. तो च छ ज झ ञ. ठीक है, तो आप व्हेन यू गो अक्रॉस क ख ग घ ड, so your at the curve, at the first letter of the curve varga, your ear is coming out from the mouth. And at the end, ch, ch, j, j, y, your air is coming out from the nose. So if I have to say ch, you can say by closing the nose. ch बोल सकते हैं. त, थ, द, ध, न, त बोल सकते हो. त, प, प बोल सकते हो. अभी now if I take you across, च, छ, ज, झ, य, य को नाक बंद करके बोलेंगे. नहीं बोल सकते क्योंकि when you say ch, the air is coming out from the your mouth, from your mouth बाहर रहा है. When you at the end of that varga, the air is coming out from the nose. त, थ, द, ध, न बोलेंगे नाक बंद करके. न नहीं बोल सकते. नहीं बोल सकते ना न. Because see, this is how scientifically it has been arranged. Ki the beginning of the varga, the air is coming out from the mouth. The end of the varga, the air is coming out from the nose. And in between, it's a combination of air coming out from the mouth and air coming out from the nose. है ना? So how the air coming out has been arranged in the matrix. And then when you go from top to bottom, like that, like that, then you will see that subsequently from the base of the throat to the lips are being engaged. So I don't have that chart right now. Maybe I can pull up that chart and show you. Wait. Yes. So you can see this. So you can all see this chart. That from the guttural back of the throat, palatal, beginning of the hard palate, cerebral, from the upper front pocket of the hard palate, dental, behind the teeth, and labial at the lips. So essentially, you are getting my point, right? Yeah, so do you see this? You go from top to down, you see that it goes from the back of the tongue to the lips. And then you go from left to right, airflow is coming from the throat and to the nose. तो हमारी ये जो नई इन्वेंटेड भाषा है इसमें ये 51 हमारे पास सिलेबल्स आ गए है ना, क्योंकि साइंटिफिकली whatever is the range of sounds that you produce should be the building blocks of our most scientifically produced language. कई भाषाओं में कई देशों में आप देखते हैं वो कुछ अल्फाबेट्स को प्रोनाउंस नहीं कर सकते, कुछ सिलेबल से साउंड को प्रोनाउंस नहीं कर सकते, तो चाइना में हलेक लिखना ऐसा, because they don't have those that exposure to that sound, so they don't recognize that sound, they are not able to speak that sound. But when you take this chart and tell them देखो आपका वॉइस बॉक्स से ये साउंड भी निकल सकता है, then you get entire range. So मतलब even if we talk of things of this world, the Vedas definitely have knowledge of things beyond this world. बर्थ के पहले डेथ के बाद क्या होता है, बट बी और डी बर्थ और डेथ के बीच में तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, उसके बारे में भी द नॉलेज व्हिच वेदास ऑफर अस इज वेरी वेरी immaculate, very very perfect. Whether you speak of language, literature, or even we are talking of language here. And Sanskrit, not just words, not just sounds, you can create infinite words in Sanskrit, because Sanskrit is based on certain rules. It's based on a very very logical framework. And if you know of Ashtadhyayi of Panini, he wrote basically an Ashtadhyayi manual on Sanskrit, which has 8 adhyayas or 8 chapters and total 4,000 rules. And using these 4,000 rules, you can create infinite words, because Sanskrit is about dhatus. And every dhatu has a different meaning, as a number of meanings. And if you add suffixes and prefixes to those dhatus, you can modify the meaning, and actually you can create a new word which never ever existed, but which is perfect, right? So this is how you can create infinite words in Sanskrit. So it's a very dynamic language. And even NASA, and it came up with a paper in the year 2003 saying that the most perfect language, optimal language for computer coding is Sanskrit, because it has a very very logical framework in it, and that's why we have Indians booming in the IT industry. ताकि वो logical mindset was already there. Okay, so we are discussing all of this just to establish the authenticity, the superiority of Vedic knowledge, even for subject matters which are of this world, what to speak of things beyond this world. Now let's coming back to our original discussion on the 4 defects. So we asked the question of about ये कौन से ईयर की है, आपने कौन सी सेंचुरी, आपने 18th सेंचुरी 19th सेंचुरी बोला, किसी ने 16th सेंचुरी बोला, बट नाउ डू यू हैव एनी सेकंड थॉट्स? These are toy cars. Depends on आपने फोटो कहाँ से खींचा है. From where you have taken the photo. So now it appears to be actually a vintage car, but now you realize that, oh, so should we have, too much trust on what we see? Prabhupada says, mm, this person wants to see God. In the darkness he can't even see himself, and now he wants to see God. You see. So our senses are very much prone to getting misled, right? Seeing is not believing. So there are all of these, photographies, which can mislead you. Which one is bigger? Which circle is bigger? Left or right? Now you are applying intelligence.
Left one seems to be bigger.
So when we just intuitively see this, it appears that the one on the right, on this side it is bigger. The one surrounded by the smaller circles, it appears bigger, whereas the one surrounded by the bigger circles appears smaller. But actually they are both of the same size. So actually this defect is called the framing bias. So we have a number of biases based on, when we see things, based on how they are positioned, हमारा फिर perspective बदल जाता है. There was a person who bought an island for mining pearls. तो मोतियों की खेती करने के लिए उसने एक आइलैंड खरीदा. But when they were mining, they realized that on that particular island they could only find black pearls, and black pearls had no value. We are talking about something like 60 years ago. So then this person, what he did, he said, I'm going to go bankrupt. So I have to think of a strategy. So he went to all the big jewelers, हमारे घनश्याम और यहाँ पे जो है ना बड़े बड़े तनिष्क और वगैरह, उन सबके शोरूम्स में बोला, आई एम गोइंग टू पे यू एंड प्रीमियम रेंट if you place my black pearls amidst your most costly expensive gems and jewels, rubies, diamonds, उसके बीच में, keep my pearl, black pearl. And he placed it there, and then actually the price did at 10 times the actual price of the pearl. तो लोग आते थे, देखते थे, अरे इतने महंगे महंगे रूबीज डायमंड्स के साथ में ब्लैक पर्ल है, कुछ तो होगा इसमें. एंड प्राइस टैग देखो, अरे इतना महंगा है, तब तो जरूर बहुत मस्ट बी फैशनेबल, नया फैशन लगता है. And then actually people started paying for black pearl which had no market value, and he created a market for black pearls from nowhere based on where he positioned them, right? So there's a book, Predictably Irrational, by Dr. Dan Allen, something like that, a Harvard professor from Harvard. So who is mentioning that how we make decisions based on how things are presented to us. One vada pav, 50 rupees, 3 vada pavs, 100 rupees, 2 vada pavs, 90 rupees. कितने कौन सा खरीदोगे? 2 खरीदोगे, 1 खरीदोगे, 3 खरीदोगे? 1 vada pav 70 rupees, 2 vada pavs 90 rupees, 3 vada pavs 100 rupees.
ये बड़ा पाव खरीदेंगे सर.
3 खरीदेंगे ना, क्योंकि उसको आपको 3 बेचने थे. हाँ, जो 3 लेके जाएगा उसको 1 क्यों बेचे? So he put, so they position that 2 is actually a misleading figure. 2 वड़ा पाव 90 में और 3 लूंगा तो 100 मिल जाएगा, तो 100 में मिल जाएगा. So how things are positioned, based on that we get carried away. This is called a framing bias. Then there is another bias called the anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is about the first impression is the last impression. किसी भी वस्तु के बारे में, व्यक्ति के बारे में आपका जो पहला एक्सपीरियंस होता है वो आपका लास्ट एक्सपीरियंस होता है ना? So therefore this is then actually put into use by the marketing agencies very much. In many places, like even with us, if you get to hear something wrong about a person, then आपका वो जो impression बन जाता है, नहीं ये तो ऐसा ही होगा. And even after that first impression, after that even your personal experience may be different, but then you look at the person from the same first lens. That's called the anchoring bias. And therefore many of these companies, what they do is catch them young. Levi's jeans हो, ये हो, मतलब in their youth, give them the taste of our goods. इनको in the young age, if they get that first exposure to our product, then they'll be hooked to us for the rest of their life. Even though they later on they might not want to spend so much on that, but still they will spend because first impression, first anchoring हो गया. Once you are anchored to something, then you will keep using that particular anchor toothpaste or anchor switches because we are anchored to it. So anchoring, so framing bias, anchoring bias. Then there's confirmation bias. If we believe in something, then all the facts and figures or whatever data that we get, we will try to uh, you manipulate it to believe more of what we already believe. Right? उसको बोलते हैं confirmation bias. होता है ना? We just say whatever happens, say now say what the political spectrum is there. There are those who are who vote for one party, those who vote for another party. Now whatever happens in the country, चाहे वो ऑपरेशन सिंदूर हो, those who vote for party A, they become even more kind of enthusiastic कि हाँ मैंने सही वोट किया. और those who vote for party B, मैं बोल ही रहा था देखो ये लोग गलत काम करते हैं. Confirmation bias. So the same event happens, but two different persons, people get completely different conclusion based on what their original thinking is. So in many ways, psychologists have come up with 100 different biases that we have. I'm just naming a few of them for us to get a sense that how we have a tendency to get illusion. So first of all, we have defective senses. Then we have a tendency to be illusion. As you can see again in the same picture, वही framing bias है. So both the lines are of the same size, but the one at the back appears bigger based on where it is placed. Okay, so this is a chessboard here. Yes, chessboard जैसा दिख रहा है ना? Now A जो block है, A जो square है, उसका कलर क्या है? हाँ? ग्रे. B का व्हाइट. पक्का? लाइट ग्रे. लॉक कर दिया जाए. You want to phone a friend? Now they are of the same color, because if you see the gray lines next to them, you will realize that actually they are of the same color, but in this picture on the left, based on the whole matrix, it gives your eyes a particular framing कि आपको इसको ऐसे देखना है, and then you get misled. So our senses are so fallible, they have so many kind of, they can get they can be deceived so easily. अब ये आंखों देखती बात है, सामने दिख रहा है. Do we need even any more evidences to prove to ourselves that yes, our senses are defective? Is it not? So the first defect is imperfect senses. Second is tendency to be illusion, जो हमने देखा, right? So ये दोनों defects हो गए. Now let's move forward. If we have more defects also. So let's do a social science experiment. Are you all concerned about the environment? Yes or no?
Yes, bro.
Yes. And especially practicing devotees. हमने किया था ये? अच्छा, last time we did this, ना? Right. So चलो मैं फिर दूसरा change करता हूँ. So we discussed about DHMO, right? Dihydrogen monoxide, which is water. जिसको आप बैन करना चाहते थे. So can someone find a mistake here?
So 0 is written as O.
Okay, 0 is written as O.
6. It's 5.
5? It's not 5, right? अभी आप आंखों से इतना धोखा खा गए हो कि सही को भी गलत.
It was 5.
5 ही है, अरे नहीं है 5. देखो ध्यान से.
It's 6.
It's 6. है वो 5 नहीं है.
It's 5.
It's 5. You can't deceive us so much. Okay, so
Five.
there is no mistake here, right?
No, it's 5.
So this is perfect ना? इस पे कोई mistake नहीं है.
The is written twice.
Are you sure there is no mistake here? Double check.
The
Huh?
is written twice.
Yeah, now you are getting there. The mistake is not where you are finding it. The mistake is somewhere else. Because what is the mistake here? The दो बार लिखा है. But it is,
The is written twice.
yes, the is written twice, but no one noted it. Because based on how we are being guided, we are trying to find mistake elsewhere. So we are trying to find mistake outside, but mistake is within.
Got illusion, Prabhuji.
Yes. So our intelligence has a tendency to commit mistakes. So जैसे mind illusion, mind can get illusion, so the intelligence can commit mistakes. So what is written here?
12.
12, 13, 14. But if I show you this,
APC.
so
It
intelligence
also.
based on the previous impressions, it tries to match things up and then produces a certain conclusion. Is it not? When you look at this, you will say it is 13, but when you look at this, you will say it is B. It is the same thing. So therefore, these are the various biases that our intelligence can come across and then commit mistakes. For example, in the exam hall, क्या होता है, सब आंसर्स पता है, वहां जाके सिली मिस्टेक्स हो जाता है. You knew, जैसे one of the students, he was telling me, Prabhuji, when I came out of the exam hall, went to home, I checked all the tough questions and I felt इस बार तो नीट मैंने क्रैक कर दिया है, सारे के सारे टफ क्वेश्चंस मेरे सही है. Then he started matching the easy questions and he said I made so many silly mistakes in the easy questions. क्या हो गया, टफ क्वेश्चंस सही कर दिए लेकिन इजी क्वेश्चंस में सिली मिस्टेक्स कर दी. सो आवर इंटेलिजेंस मेक्स मिस्टेक्स. इज इट नॉट? So this is the third defect, imperfect senses, tendency to be illusion and committing mistakes, and ultimately to hide all of this, cheating propensity. एक स्टूडेंट ऐसा हाथ में
Cheating.
देख देख के लिख रहा था And the teacher came up and क्या देख रहे हो निकालो दिखाओ. तो बोले नहीं मैं तो हाथ देख रहा था, हाथ पे कुछ नहीं लिखा था. बोले बता हाथ में क्या था. बोला नहीं मैं हाथ की लकीरें देख रहा था, सोच रहा था पास होऊंगा कि नहीं. Yeah, the tendency to cheat. So with these four defects, we at least can we honestly admit that I can't attain absolute knowledge based from these senses. मतलब थोड़ा बहुत इधर का ज्ञान उधर का ज्ञान I can collect, but absolute knowledge, complete knowledge, if I want to get these senses, this mind, this intelligence will fail. कितने फेल हो गए हम, है ना? Is it not? If we don't, if we at least try to overcome the fourth one, the cheating propensity, the rest of the three we have no control over, because the operating system that we have got has, our senses have defects, our mind can get illusion, our intelligence will make mistakes. But what we have control over is at least we don't want to have cheating propensity. And when we don't have cheating propensity, we will admit honestly that if I want the absolute knowledge of the absolute whole, my senses, mind, and intelligence are very limited. At least we can make that conclusion. So therefore, the Vedas, they give us the complete knowledge of things of this world and things beyond this world, the spiritual world. So now let's go into the Vedas. We have discussed about there are defects in our system of acquiring knowledge. Now, what do these Vedas offer us? That's what we are trying to discuss. So, when we try to get knowledge from our senses and mind and intelligence, it is the deductive process, where we want to pull down the absolute to our level. भगवान इधर आओ, सामने आओ, तब मैं जानूं. So we want to pull the absolute in front of our eyes. That's deductive. But then there's other process of knowledge which Prabhupada writes in the introduction, inductive ascending process. Descending process, descending processes, ascending processes, basically inductive processes, deductive processes where you try to bring down the absolute to your level, and inductive processes where you try to rise up to meet the absolute. So rise up means by purifying our consciousness. We rise up to a level, we qualify ourselves by which we can actually see God, experience God. Right? So that is the inductive process, and whereas the deductive process, we try to use empirical methods. So Vedas, their the entire gamut of knowledge of the Vedas can be divided into two parts: the Paravidya and the Aparavidya. Paravidya is knowledge of the inner universe. Aparavidya is knowledge of the outer universe. Para means transcendental. परे है बोलते हैं ना. Para means that which is beyond this world, knowledge of things beyond this world, and apara is knowledge of things within this world. So Vedas, they provide us knowledge of para and apara both. Now, if in the university of the Vedic knowledge, if you you know, there are various ways of looking into. What I want to do is to give you a complete overview of what all do these Vedas contain. When we say the Vedas, जैसे आप कहीं भगवत गीता डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे हो, कोई आके पूछेगा वेदास है क्या आपके पास, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं, वेद का सार भगवत गीता है हमारे पास. But actually, in a Vedas, when you say the word Veda, Veda means knowledge. And when we speak of Vedas, it doesn't just mean that the four Vedas. It actually means the entire body of Vedic literature, which has Shrutis and Smritis, and many other subdivisions. So we are talking of even Bhagavad Gita, even Srimad Bhagavatam, these are all Vedas, Vedic literature. And within the Vedas, you have the four Vedas, the Chaturved, right? Rig, Sam, Atharva, Yajur. So all of these four Vedas are there as part of the overall Vedas, of the entire Vedic knowledge. So let's look at the whole gamut of Vedic university. There is Paravidya and Aparavidya, worldly knowledge and spiritual knowledge. So within Aparavidya, there is Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is basically that which is heard directly. Shruti means जो directly सुना है, coming from direct word of God. And Smriti is when that Shruti is presented with realization by great sages, that becomes Smriti, which is coming from the memory of great sages. But and then within further Smritis, you will have Itihasas, Puranas, Dharma Shastras, Vedangas, Upavedas, Vedopangas, all of these things you will have. But आप देखेंगे जो ब्लू में है ना, वो क्या है? अपरा विद्या है, वर्ल्डली नॉलेज है. But then there is Paravidya, spiritual knowledge. So when you speak of the four Vedas, they are coming within Paravidya or Aparavidya? Aparavidya.
Upper.
Aparavidya में आ रहे हैं. Because from the entire gamut of Vedic knowledge, only a very small section of the Vedic knowledge talks of Aparavidya, of the Paravidya, of the transcendental knowledge. And most of the Vedic literatures, they speak of Aparavidya or knowledge of this world. इसके लिए कृष्णा क्या बोलते हैं अर्जुन को? निष्त्रैगुण्य भवार्जुना. त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदा निष्त्रैगुण्य भवार्जुना. नित्य सत्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान. तो भगवान श्री कृष्ण क्या बोल रहे हैं? अरे सब ये वेदास में तो त्रिगुणात्मक ज्ञान दिया गया है. The Vedas that speak of knowledge which is within the three modes. You go beyond these three modes. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, the subject matter of the Vedas is within the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. But whereas Arjun, the ultimate goal of life is to go beyond the three modes.
Prabhuji, this
Yes.
word Arankyakas, what is that? This is I've heard for the first time. What?
Yeah, we will come to that. Aranyakas, we will come to that. But basically, this is trying to understand that the essence of the Vedas, as Krishna is saying, what does Krishna say? That I'm the compiler of the Vedas. Vedeshta Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Videva Chaham. So Vedeshta Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo, and so Krishna is the subject matter of all the Vedas. The essence of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. Yes, the goal of all the Vedic knowledge is to know Krishna. But 99% of the Vedic knowledge is about subject matter of this world. And therefore, Vyasadeva, after compiling all the Vedic literatures, compiling all the Itihasas, Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, he felt dissatisfied, and Narad Muni, his guru, said that यथा धर्मादयश्चार्थः मुनिवर्यानुकीर्तितः न तथा वासुदेवस्य महिमा ही अनुवर्णिता. जितना आपने धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष के बारे में स्तुति की है, जितना उसका आपने विवेचन किया है, विवरण किया है, डिस्क्रिप्शन किया है, you haven't in comparison sufficiently described the glories of Vasudeva. You haven't given the subject transcendental subject matter as much prominence as it deserves. So actually when people say अरे तुम लोगों ने वेदास पढ़ा है क्या, तुम लोगों ने ऋग्वेद पढ़ा है क्या, so actually it's a self-defeating proposition, because the goal of Vedas is not rituals, is not karma kand. is not even Jnana Kand. The goal of Vedas is Vedescha Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo. From all the Vedas, Krishna is saying, I am supposed to be known. And even and after knowing all the Vedas, if you only what you know is just some rituals, if you only know some dry speculative knowledge, then you are still loitering in the realm of basically the senses, mind, and intelligence, in the realm of Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. You haven't been able to transcend all of these material modes. So therefore, the subject matter of the Vedas is vast, but as Krishna says in the second chapter, if someone understands the essence of the Vedas, he says that what can be accomplished with a big reservoir of water can also be accomplished by a small well. So if you understand the essence of the Vedas, you will be able to understand the Vedas in full. So in that sense, yes, Prabhu. हाँ तो अभी let's now go into detail. So this chart I showed primarily to show that जिसको हम वेदास बोलते हैं और जिससे हम इतना एनिग्मेटिक एक ये रखते हैं कि अरे वेदास क्या होगा ऋग्वेद में क्या होगा but actually when you read the Gita, when you understand the whole purpose of the Vedic literature, you will realize that actually what we have received in the form of Bhagavad Gita is the summum bonum, the conclusion, and the perfection of reading all the Vedas. So आपको you have been saved from the great labor and endeavor to first learn Sanskrit, which हमने invent किया नहीं. And then after learning Sanskrit for 12 years, to read all the different Vedas, and then after that go to the Upanishad section, and after that come to Vedanta Sutra, bache to, and then after understanding the Vedanta Sutra, you are roaming confused and dissatisfied. Even Vyasadeva is dissatisfied. So you have been directly given the essence of the entire body of Vedic literature. So this chart I showed for that particular perspective, and आप देखेंगे ना, तो whether it is Shrutis or Smritis, दोनों में से you will find Paravidya is there. For example, from the Vedas, you will find. Abhi now, let me take you through this those things which you are seeing for the first time. Now, try to focus on this. Any college, for example, engineering college, कितने साल का कोर्स होता है? 4-year course. So the Vedic system, it divides your life into 4 segments. First segment, second, third, and fourth. Right? First segment is brahmachari life, second is grahastha, third is vanaprastha, fourth is sannyas. So when you talk of the entire body of Vedas, life is a school. We say life is a preparation, death is examination. And death is examination मतलब पूरी लाइफ हम पढ़ाई किए होंगे. पढ़ाई करेंगे तो क्या पढ़ाई करेंगे? सिलेबस होना चाहिए ना, करिकुलम होना चाहिए. फर्स्ट ईयर में क्या पढ़ना है, सेकंड ईयर में क्या पढ़ना है, थर्ड में क्या पढ़ना है, फोर्थ में क्या पढ़ना है ना, तभी जाके पास होंगे, डिग्री मिलेगा. So in the brahmachari life, when you say that all the Vedas, or the entire knowledge of the 4 Vedas are divided into Rig, Yajur, Sam, and Atharva. But each of these 4 Vedas are divided into Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. कैसे? क्यों? क्योंकि Samhitas are basically the hymns which are taught to the brahmacharis. So Samhitas are the hymns which are basically hymns glorifying the different deities which are taught to the brahmacharis. Then there are Brahmanas section of the Vedas. जैसे ऋग्वेद में भी ब्राह्मण सेक्शन रहेगा, यजुर्वेद में भी ब्राह्मण सेक्शन रहेगा, and सामवेद में भी ब्राह्मण सेक्शन रहेगा, अथर्ववेद में भी ब्राह्मण सेक्शन रहेगा. मतलब there are certain sections of each of these Vedas which are corresponding to the Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas and Upanishads. तो जब आप फर्स्ट सेगमेंट में हो, फर्स्ट ईयर में हो, तो आपके सिलेबस में क्या आएगा? Samhitas. When you move to the second segment of life, Grahastha life, आपके पोर्शन में क्या आएगा? Brahmanas. Samhitas में क्या है? Hymns glorifying the different deities. Brahmanas में क्या है? Ritual performances. कि how to do ज्योतिषोम यज्ञ, अग्निष्टोम यज्ञ, अग्निहोत्र यज्ञ, etc. How to perform the yajnas, because a grahastha has to compulsorily perform the Panchashuno yajna, the 5 types of yajnas, to atone for and pacify for the 5 different types of sins which may happen, right? So for the grahasthas, the brahmanas, which means the rituals, have been given. So when in the grahastha life, for special importance are the brahmana section of the Vedas. But then when you move into the third year or the third segment of life, which is called the Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means going to the forest. One name of forest is Aranya. One name of the forest is Aranya. So when you are going to the forest का manual, forest में जाके क्या करना है? What is the mindset to go to the forest? Is detachment. So that mindset is developed in the Aranyaka section of the Vedas. Right? So when you get into the Vanaprastha ashram, you prepare yourself by reading the Aranyaka section of the Vedas. And then finally, when you have got sufficient detachment and sufficient attachment to the Supreme Lord, then you read the Upanishad section of the Vedas. So actually, it's a full university. Their entire life is an ongoing continuous education program. The Vedic University. Everyone is a student, compulsorily, from birth to death. That's how this whole system is arranged. Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas and Upanishads. Now, थोड़ा सा हेवी हो गया क्या? इतना सा पढ़ना पड़ेगा.
So what are the Aranyakas and Upanishads?
So Upanishads, there are 11 more prominent Upanishads. Ishopanishad that we are studying, Kena Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, like this. Otherwise, there are 108 Upanishads, 108 known Upanishads, and out of them, 11 are prominent and are widely quoted by our Vaishnava Acharyas, right? So within these Upanishads, they speak about the absolute truth. So generally, as I said, the Brahmanas and the Samhitas, they will just talk about rituals in this world, how to appease the devatas, how to bring in prosperity in this world, how to live in this world, coexist with others, in the right mindset. So that talk of this world is mentioned. But when you talk of Aranyakas, it starts to talk about detaching you from the material quagmire.
So it's more philosophy and less mathematics.
Yes, addition of philosophy. And then as you proceed and progress through Upanishads, they primarily focus on philosophy. So that they are Jnana-kand. So Aranyakas and Upanishads are Jnana-kand, and Brahmanas and Samhitas, they are Karma-kand. So first half of life is Karma-kand, next half is Jnana-kand, but we have been given direct access beyond Karma-kand and Jnana-kand into Upasana-kand of the Supreme Lord. Right? So that is a privilege that we have got. कि हमने नर्सरी में एडमिशन लिया नहीं, ठीक है, फर्स्ट सेकंड थर्ड 12th क्लास कहीं पे एडमिशन नहीं लिया, कॉलेज में भी एडमिशन नहीं लिया, सीधा पीएचडी डिग्री दे दिया. No, Gyan Kand is primarily talking of Paravidya. Gyan Kand means they are trying to decode things beyond the visible. They are like basically inquiry, Athatu Brahma Jigyasa. That's how Vedanta Sutra begins. Athatu, now that you have got human form of life, your basic necessities are going to be fulfilled very easily. You must inquire about that which is beyond the visible. You must inquire about the source of all existence. So that's the Jnana Kand. But beyond Jnana Kand is Bhakti. डिवोशन टू सुप्रीम. सो आप देखेंगे तो इसमें भगवत गीता, इट इज एक्चुअली पार्ट ऑफ द स्मृति. भगवत गीता इज पार्ट ऑफ महाभारत, राइट? महाभारत इज इतिहास. So Bhagavad Gita is part of Itihasas. Itihasas are basically Smriti. So there's a lot of discussion on Smritis are inferior, Shrutis are superior, nothing like that. Both 99% of Shrutis and Smritis will keep on talking about Karma Kand, Gyan Kand. But then beyond Karma Kand and Gyan Kand, the real essence of the Vedas is present in only a few literatures. And that we have been given access by His Divine Grace, like Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the key. So that we didn't have to put our head across tons and tons of verses without understanding where they are leading us to. है ना? And you see Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Sutras. Now Brahma Sutras or the Vedanta Sutras are the conclusion of basically the after writing all the Vedas, Vyasadeva wrote Vedanta Sutra. The end of all the Vedas is Vedanta Sutra. So actually Vedanta Sutra is Shruti. In one sense, it is directly the conclusion of all the Shrutis, Vedanta Sutra. And so you see, the Paravidya is both present in Smriti and Shruti, right? But, and here if you see Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the commentary on the Brahma Sutra. Althavyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the conclusion and the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So Bhagavatam is part of the Puranas. The Bhagavad Puran is part of the Puranas, which are again part of the Smritis. So whether you talk of Shruti or Smriti, 99% of them will not be conclusive, bringing you to the ultimate conclusion. But only few of the Shrutis and Smritis, such as Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, give you the essence and conclusion of all the Vedic literature, which is what we have got in the Bhakti Shastri course. इसके लिए don't feel that oh I am missing out on something. शायद वो वेदा वाला कोर्स अटेंड कर लूँ या ऐसा कर लूँ. No need. You are all covered here. So now first of all, to get to all of these Vedic literature, you need to cross something called the Vedangas. तो आपकी ये जो all of this we are talking Samhitas, Brahmanas, Upanishadas, Aranyakas, वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए पहले आपको क्या पढ़ना पड़ेगा? 6 Vedangas. And what are the Vedangas? The Vedangas are basically the kindergarten of Vedic knowledge. वैदिक नॉलेज में घुसने के लिए पहले वेदांग करने पड़ते हैं. वेदांग में क्या है? शिक्षा. शिक्षा मीन्स प्रोनाउंसिएशन. बच्चों को सबसे पहले क्या सिखाते हैं? A for apple, B for boy. Right? They are given the phonetics, the syllables, the alphabets. So shiksha is varna uchcharan. A, E. So they are taught to speak. So when a child enters the school or the Gurukul, the first thing they are taught is the phonetics, the sounds, how to pronounce them clearly, not just pronounce syllables, but whole words, how to pronounce. So you see in the chanting of Vedic mantras, there are different somewhere Sahasrashisha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrabhat. So they have certain modulations of the voice. So all of these modulations of the voice are taught. You have to pronounce it like this. This you have to pronounce in high. This is low. This is mid. So in this way, there are so many permutations and combinations of pronunciation. So in the Vedic mantras, the famous story is there where instead of chanting Twashta and his pandits, instead of chanting Indra Ha, they chanted Indra Ha. And instead of someone who was supposed to kill Indra, it produced the 49 Maruts who became brothers of Indra. So पूरा इतना बड़ा अनुष्ठान किया बड़े बड़े वैदिक पंडितों ने सतयुग में, जहाँ पे सब इतना अच्छा था, गुड बेस्ट ऑफ वैदिक एजुकेशन वाज देयर, they made syllable of mistake of one syllable and the result was completely different, right? So this is like kindergarten mistake. तो सबसे पहले है शिक्षा, वर्ण उच्चारण। तो पहले वर्ण उच्चारण सिखाते हैं, प्रोनाउंसिएशन, मॉड्यूलेशन, वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन सिखाते हैं, उसके बाद में सिखाते हैं छंदा, नहीं उसके बाद सिखाते हैं व्याकरण और ग्रामर। So then they are taught how to pronounce words, then they are taught how to form sentences using words, how to actually bring together words and make different sentences, that is vyakaran or grammar. Then they are taught after grammar chandas or meters, so how to convert sentences or into poetry. uh, Anushtup chanda. Like there are many different types of chandas in which you can compose different verses. So if you see Shrimad Bhagavatam is verses. पहले लोग बात नहीं करते थे, गाते थे. They were so adept. Like even if you go back 500 years, Kaviraj Goswami, like he's just matter of fact. ऐसा everything is writing in a beautiful, meter verses. Because the creativity was so much that just to speak a sentence, क्या है इसमें थोड़ा कुछ गा के, same thing. Now we have only few composers जो बॉलीवुड के सारे सॉन्ग लिखते हैं. पहले everyone was a composer. So every in the spiritual world, of course, every step is a dance, every word is a song. They sing. So the third thing children are taught is these chandas, how to convert your sentences into poetry and different types of chandas. Then they are taught actually nirukta. So nirukta is word meanings.
हरे कृष्णा। प्रभु जी आवाज नहीं आ रहा है, स्क्रीन भी गायब हो गया है।
Yes. So nirukta is basically meaning, word meanings. They are taught. तो आपने बचपन में सबसे पहले सीखा, you learned. The first thing you learned is pronunciation, which is called what was it? Phonetics. In what was the Sanskrit word I used?
Siksha.
Huh?
Siksha.
Shiksha, yes.
Shiksha.
Shiksha. You learned Shiksha, then you learned Vyakaran, then you learned actually Nirukta or word meanings. Then the fourth thing you learn is Chandas, poetry. Fifth thing you learn is Jyotish. Now you have all the building blocks. The building blocks of language are there. The next thing is because all these Vedangas, they are preparing you to perform Vedic rituals, Vedic sacrifices. And for sacrifices, what's very important is the timing. किस मुहूर्त में किस समय क्या करना है, किस स्थान पे करना है. So that is called Jyotish. So the fifth thing is before like getting into the Vedic school, kindergarten में क्या क्या पढ़ाते हैं? So Jyotish. After learning Jyotish, they teach you Kalpa. And Kalpa is the actual rituals. So first these Vedangas, the Vedangas are taught, and after you have learned the Vedangas, you are ready to learn the Vedas. And then there are Upavedas, Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, etc. which the martial arts हुआ चाहे medical science हो, so these are Upavedas. So these are all the different like gamut of Vedic literature. So if you look at it whole as a whole, you'll find within the Shrutis there are the four Vedas. Then within the Shrutis there are also the Vedangas. Because before you learn the four Vedas, you have to learn the Vedangas. नहीं तो everything will be overhead transmission. Hmm? And that is the problem when someone says, okay, चलो मुझे वेदा पढ़ने हैं. खोल के पढ़ेंगे कुछ समझ नहीं आएगा. Because before you learn the Vedas, you have to go through the study of Vedangas. And in the Vedangas, just to learn Vyakaran, Sanskrit Vyakaran, if you have to perfect it, it takes 12 years. So out of the Vedangas, one of the Vedangas takes good 12 years. So do we have time for studying all the Vedas? So this is for the Vedas, you have to learn the Vedangas. So Vedangas, Vedas, Upavedas, they all are part of the Shrutis. What are the part of the Smritis? The part of Smritis are Puranas, Itihasas, and Upangas, which are basically you have the Shad Darshan, the six systems of philosophy are there. The Dharma Shastras are there. They are also part of the Smritis. So these six systems of philosophy are basically different lenses from which you can read the entire Vedic literature. All the Vedic literatures can be read from different lenses. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Karma Mimamsa, which is Purva Mimamsa, Sankhya, then Yoga, and Vedanta Sutra. So there are six systems of philosophy, and every philosophy has a different outlook to read the Vedas. So Nyaya, it uses the eye or the lens of logic. लॉजिक की दृष्टि से सब वैदिक लिटरेचर को पढ़ेंगे. Then Vaisheshika, it studies from the lens of that this entire world is made up of atoms, right? So all of these six systems of philosophy are different toolkits. If you have to solve any problem, physics का problem है, so you need to have certain toolkits. Free body diagrams, etc. ऐसा. You have certain toolkits, then you will be able to. If you have to repair a car, you need a toolkit, and different tools in a toolkit are used for different purposes. So similarly, Nyaya has its role. Vaisheshika, it basically sees the world made up of atoms. Everything is made up of atoms. Then Sankhya says the world is made up of 24 elements. It classifies things, so when you have to develop detachment, Sankhya is very useful. See the things as, okay, what is this? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. What is this? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So kind of you develop a detached vision with Sankhya philosophy. Then Karma Mimamsa philosophy its purpose is to invoke responsibility and a sense of duty in you. That things are dependent on your action. So then they give a sense of duty and responsibility to people based on the karma mimamsa. If I do this, I'll get this result. If I don't do this, I'll get that result. So karma mimamsa is about result, actions and consequences, right? And then there is yoga, the philosophy of yoga, which actually Ashtanga yoga is primarily popular. So Ashtanga yoga essentially it is meant for Paramatma realization, because yogis they meditate on the Paramatma in the heart. So the Ashtanga yoga means it has 8 limbs. What are the 8 limbs? Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dhyan, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. So Yam Niyam means do's and don'ts. First of all, what should be your lifestyle? What should be your, to not tell lies, to not steal from others. So what are the do's and don'ts to prepare you? And then there is asana, how to sit. Because if you have to meditate on the Paramatma, you have to go. अगर आपको ड्रिलिंग करनी है कहीं पे पहले आपको मशीन फिक्स करते हैं ना. इफ यू सी these drilling machines are first fixed. उसका जो हाइड्रोलिक सिस्टम पहले फिक्स होता है, उसके बाद में ड्रिलिंग करते हैं. तो how do you fix yourself in one place for 6 hours? That asana is there. Then pranayama is to balance your mind so that your mind becomes focused. After you have done asana pranayama, then pratyahara is to how you can reduce the needs and demands of the body. And then you start dharana, which means focus your meditation on one limb of the Lord. And dhyan, you get into a state of meditation. And then samadhi, where everything else becomes redundant for you except the Lord in the heart. Then you are able to reach the Lord in the heart. So this is the process of yoga. And then finally you come to Vedanta Sutra, where Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabdati. The Vedanta Sutra, it represents that absolute truth can be understood in terms of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So Vedanta Sutra will give you a philosophical exposition of the entire absolute truth. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdati. So all of these 6 systems of philosophy which are part of the Smritis, they give you different toolboxes to be able to understand the absolute. And they will take you to certain levels. But ultimately, Vedanta Sutra is considered to be the most evolved and the most complete of all of these 6 systems of philosophy. And then beyond Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, basically what we have received is directly Srimad Bhagavatam. So this was just a summary study of the entire gamut of Vedic literatures, and just to strengthen, first of all, develop our Shraddha, our faith in the Vedas, and then also develop faith that what we have been given in terms of that essence of Vedic literatures in the form of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is enough for us. Actually, more than enough for us to completely and perfect our life. Because even after studying all of these Vedas, people may not have even an iota of understanding of what is absolute. And therefore, Shiva Shankaracharya says, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate, Samprapye Sannihita Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrit Karane. So he's telling an old man who is trying to memorize the Panini Sutras, Ashtadhyayi Sutras. Dukrit Karane means grammar. So at the ripe old age, he's about to die, he's memorizing the Vyakaran. And he's caught up in that. Shankaracharya says, O Mudha, O Mudhamate, O foolish person, give up all of this Vedic wrangling of words and try to chant the holy names of the Lord. Right? So that essence has been provided to us. So let's not take that for granted, because we have received it so easily and directly. So this is what has been discussed in the introduction of the Ishopanishad. I have taken different themes from the introduction and presented it in a way so that we cover all of them and lead us to the first verse, which is the invocation, which we will start from the next session. Any questions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So,
There is one question
can you?
here from the offline,
Yes, yes.
right, and then I will come back to. So Samhitas, actually the first classification is Rig Veda, Samved, Yajurved, Atharvaved. So first classification is that. Now from within that, Samhitas have been culled out. Brahmanas have been culled out कि यहाँ से ये 2 चैप्टर निकाल दिए, इसका एक संहिता बना दिया, ये 3 सेक्शन निकाल दिए, इसका एक ब्राह्मणा बना दिया. So like that it is done. So now when you say Brahma Samhita, it's not exactly clear कि where because we just have the Brahma Samhita. From which section has it been removed? Because currently we don't have the complete all the verses of the Vedas. We don't have all the access. So, but yeah, it's you can call it a Samhita, but it is actually the conclusion of all the Samhitas. Because Samhitas are those which are mantras which glorify certain deities. The supreme deity is Sri Krishna. That is Para. So from Shrutis and Smritis, from both, you will find both Para and Apara Vidya. But Para is very hidden, concealed, and very, very sparse in its presentation. Yes, Sandeep.
Vedant Sutra, yeah, Brahma Sutra you mentioned. So,
Yes.
is there any book called Vedanta Sutra? I mean, I've never
Yes,
seen or heard. It's okay. So, is it like the Bhagavatam is said the summary of Vedanta Sutra?
Yes, sir.
So, that also have stories of devotees like Bhagavatam, Vedanta Sutras?
Vedanta Sutras has just terse sutras. अथातो ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा अनावृति शब्दार्थ, मतलब 3-3, 4-4 शब्दों के उसमें सूत्र हैं. अथातो ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा, therefore inquire about absolute. ना उससे मतलब this is the first verse and first चालू किया है therefore से. तो अरे पहले क्या था, पहले कुछ बताया क्या, क्लास पहले चालू हो गया क्या, therefore क्यों बोल रहे हैं प्रभु, therefore क्यों बोला है कि भाई अपने आप को कांच में देखो. You have attained a human form of life, therefore you should inquire about absolute. अच्छा वो therefore पहले के लिए नहीं है, therefore मेरे लिए है. Because you are a human, therefore inquire about absolute. So it is very terse, it is very abstract in its composition. So in the Bhagavatam, many of the verses you will find are commentaries or elaboration on these Vedanta Sutras. One of the Vedanta Sutras is Janmadhyasya Yatah. Janma Adi Asya Yatah. That Janma Adi, Janma means creation, creation, etc. Adi. जिनसे निकला है. अच्छा, क्रिएशन एक्सेट्रा जिनसे निकला है उसका करूं क्या, वो तुम जानो. Then you come to Bhagavatam. जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरया तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमया यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. अब समझ में आया. वेदांत सूत्र जस्ट क्या बोल दिया, जन्म आदि असयत, वो जन्म क्रिएशन एक्सेट्रा जिनसे आया है. वहां पे वीडियो रुक गया, कनेक्शन कट हो गया. उसका फिर इलैबोरेशन भागवतम में दिया है कि जन्म आदि अस्य यथा, जिनसे जन्म आदि आया है यानी क्रिएशन मेंटेनेंस डिस्ट्रक्शन जिनसे आया है, वो क्या करते हैं, अभिज्ञ हैं, वो सब कुछ जानते हैं, स्वराट हैं, कंप्लीटली इंडिपेंडेंट हैं. अच्छा, और क्या करते हैं, तेने ब्रह्म हृदय आदि कवे, he knows everything and he has invested knowledge in the heart of Brahmaji, and his material energy bewilders even great sages. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimay bhuyanti yat suryah. Great learned scholars get bewildered by his material energy. Dhamna svena sara nirasta koham. But he resides in his spiritual abode, Dham. Satyam Param Dhimai. Let me meditate upon that absolutely. तो यहाँ पे जन्म आदि ऐसे आता में ही वीडियो बंद हो गया। तो कंक्लूजन हमें श्रीमद् भागवत में मिलता है। So that's how many verses of the Vedanta Sutra are corresponding to Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the verses is last verse is I think Navati Shabda, and then Srimad Bhagavatam. The last verse is about chanting the holy names. And repetition. Shabda means. And the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is.
Uchamana.
How does it start? It talks about Kirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Right? So the first verse, Janmadhyasya Atah, corresponds to Bhagavatam, the last corresponds to Bhagavatam, and in this way, Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So Vedanta Sutra is a proper book. It has 55 different chapters. I'm not exactly recounting, but it has basically 55 different divisions, a number of sutras. So we already have got the Bhagavatam. Nam Sankirtanam Yasya Tat Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Jivan Tam Namami Hariparam. So Anavriti Shabdat, repeat the sound vibration, Nam Sankirtan. So like this, the conclusion of Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam.
There are so
Anything
many
else?
Upanishad, Prabhuji. So why do we read only Ishopanishad?
Wow, nice. So Upanishads are read by which section of the कौन से घर में पढ़ने हैं?
ये स्मृति
आपको आप तैयार हैं?
क्या?
Upanishads are read in the fourth year, ना fourth section.
हाँ
संन्यास
हाँ हाँ
तैयार
Yes.
हैं आप संन्यास के लिए?
नहीं गलत तो चल रहा है.
नहीं, so नहीं, basically you can read other Upanishads also, but each Upanishad, there are other Upanishads also, and most of the other Upanishads are basically Jnana Kanda, which talk about the Brahman feature of the Absolute, which in various enigmatic ways describe the Nirvishesh, Nirakar, Nirgun feature of the Absolute Truth. But the Ishopanishad, why Srila Prabhupada is chosen? Because it describes the Absolute Truth in complete. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udachyate. So the first verse itself talks about the complete absolute has been discussed here in the Ishopanishad. Ish means the Supreme Lord. So the Upanishad which directly brings you to the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Ishopanishad. And therefore we are specifically studying the Ishopanishad. Make sense, Prabhu? Anything else?
Hare Krishna.
Brahma Sutras. So Vedanta Sutras are also known as Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras because they talk about Brahman or the spiritual reality. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan. So we will talk about it in the invocation, the first shloka of Ishopanishad, in the next session, first session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the
Hare
nice
Krishna,
class.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Dandavat Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very